In today's segment, we're going to talk about leveraging and building a property portfolio. And how do we actually do this? So, many of you may have heard how people go from 0 properties to 10 in 3 or 5 years. Wonder to yourself, how is it actually possible? Good news is I'm going to explain some tips and tricks on how you can do this, so stay tuned. What are some truths around leverage, which means bank finance, and building a property portfolio? One of the main things to remember is building a property portfolio requires you to have passive income and other business or wage income. The banks love you to have income. So if you have no income, they're not going to lend you money. And likewise, when you're buying properties, you've got to buy properties that are cash flow positive so they continue to give you money, or otherwise you're not going to be able to get the lending. So is the average Australian going to be able to buy 10 properties in the next 3 or 5 years? Yes, if you buy the right types of property. And no, if you don't buy the right types. So it depends on your strategy, it depends on what you're after. So I looked up the cheapest property I could find in Victoria with suburbs that I knew. So I picked Coleraine in Victoria. The average house price is $277,000 and the cheapest house I could find there was $156,000. And I thought to myself, could I buy 10 of those properties in the next 5 years if I'm an average Australian person? And the answer is probably yes. The next question to ask yourself is, would you want to own those types of property? And maybe that would not be the best strategy for you, or maybe it would be. So let's consider that you're an average Australian, you have $1 million house, you have $500,000 loan, which means you'll have $500,000 of equity. And let's consider that you use some of that equity to leverage and buy another property. That investment property that you buy could be a negatively geared property, could be a positive one. Remember, the Hatchaway property is going to be cash flow positive after paying its loan repayments. And because you'll be 100% geared on this investment property, it'd be smart to look at a cash flow positive property. That will reduce your chances and risk of something unexpected happening. If we did that and we purchased another $1 million property, we would have $2 million worth of property. And now that $2 million worth of property is going to increase by capital gains each year by the percentage for those suburbs, which means you're going to be far better off than having one property increasing by that same percentage. When it comes to the debt side of things, we're going to be pushing both properties together and having the debt combined in separate loans, but could be cross-collateralized or could be 2, 3 separate loans. From a wealth creation perspective, it doesn't matter how you structure the loans as long as you're able to buy the properties. But the trick with this strategy is that once you've exhausted all the equity in the original property, you can't go on to buy the next property unless you put in more cash or the value of those properties increase, which many people forget that it's not going to happen overnight. So it might delay you from buying your third property for 1, 2 or 3 years until the equity in property 1 and 2 has increased enough to give you the ability to buy the third property. So remember, the secret to borrowing more money from the banks, leveraging off the existing equity you have and building an amazing property portfolio is 1, make sure you have the right amount of passive income and other sources of income. And 2, make sure that the properties that you're buying are cash flow positive if they are going to be 100% geared. I'm Gary Brown. Keep learning and take control of your financial future.